Hello and a very warm welcome to the late-breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking. No race coming up this weekend, but we are back for another episode, Sam. I mean, we've been talking for like 10 hours by this point, but how are you?
I'm good. Secret late-breaking project is well and truly underway. You will not know anything about this. You'll forget all about this. Look into my eyes, look around the eyes. You'll have forgotten all about this conversation momentarily. But we've been talking a long time and we've been begging to get on this episode. So we're here, no racing, but plenty of F1 drama to bring to you. And we're a threesome, Harry Eade.
Are we?
We always have been.
Hello everyone. Nice to be back once again.
How was Italy?
It was hot. It was hot.
Because you were there.
It's cooled down.
I would pay for you to do the weather, by the way.
Yeah.
Like Brick Tamling.
Sure.
Well, apart from Italy, we've got plenty to talk about on this episode. We've got some comments from James Vowles coming up later on. Kevin Magnussen set to miss the next race in Baku. Antonelli finally confirmed at Mercedes. But we're going to start with McLaren because team orders has been something of a question mark over the last few races. And some comments from Andrea Stella after the Italian Grand Prix caught our eye. So what did he have to say? We need to be better at capitalizing on the opportunities that Red Bull at the moment seem to offer by not being in the usual possibility of competing for podiums. We are fighting Max Verstappen, so I think if we want to give support to one driver, we definitely have to pick the one that is in the best position. And also Lando, he's been doing very well, like pole position in Zandvoort, pole position here in Monza. If anything with Lando, we need to adjust some little racing things which may help him and may help us capitalize on a pole position like we had here in Monza. I think if you look at his first lap, while we review it together, we might see that there were a couple of things that we could have done slightly better. So Verstappen is now 62 points clear of Lando Norris in the Drivers' Championship. This is something that we spoke about a little bit on the race review episode, Sam, a couple of days ago. With 8 races and 3 sprints still to go, should McLaren start to adjust their strategy? Should they have already done it?
It's a really tricky one. I can totally understand why a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of McLaren fans are very frustrated right now. This is the first time they've had a chance at winning a title since Hamilton and Alonso were in the car, really, which is nigh on 16 seasons ago at this point. It's been a long run for that team, much like Ferrari, right? Almost exactly the same time period where they won their last title. So I can totally understand why you're hearing the voices shout, give it to one driver, focus on one driver. We're throwing it away because we're too busy trying to play, happy cats where everyone's best mates. It's not the way forward for a title. Formula One is a ruthless sport and you need to put all your eggs in one basket and gung for it. Zach Brown, I think, is very much trying to play everyone's having a good time at McLaren. That's how we do things around here. We're all good mates. No, the time has come for decision. Decision needs to be made. Now, unfortunately for Lando Norris, over the last 5 Grand Prix, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have scored exactly the same amount of points. And they are first and second in points scored across the entire grid. No one has scored more than them, than those 2 drivers, and they are equal. For someone that's going after a title fight after someone like Max Verstappen, who is notoriously good now at battling through hardships, holding on to leagues, maintaining a championship lead, you need every single thing in your arsenal to take someone like that down. Max Verstappen is ruthless, and that is almost a brilliant perk to have when being a championship leader. We've seen it when Hamilton went up against the likes of Rosberg. We saw it when Michael Schumacher was winning world titles. We saw it when Sebastian Vettel was beating Mark Webber. He is so good at that. And something that McLaren are missing is that ruthless nature where they're going, you know what, Oscar, you're having a sensational season, but it's a little bit too late. You've missed the boat on this one. If we're going to win both titles, we've got to put all our eggs in Lando's basket. We've got to work out why he's missing these starts, why he's letting points go off the start here, and we've got to push him forward because realistically, Oscar can't win the title. I can't see it happening. So Zach Brown is trying to play Mr. Happy-go-lucky in the public. He's trying to speak to the cameras as if, we're working through this. The culture's all so good. No, come on now. The buck stops here. Get the job done. Lando Norris needs to be the guy you put your money behind. And at the same time, I respect that Zach Brown is trying to defend his driver. He's trying to advocate for the fact that this is a team thing. We're going through some difficulties. Lando Norris is perfectly capable of delivering. He's not. and he needs to own up to that and deliver on that aspect as well. Go away, learn where you're missing, and deliver where your weaknesses are. Much like we've seen with maybe Hamilton in the past, he has worked on his weaknesses. That needs to come from both sides, but I think now is the time. You put all your money behind Lando Norris and you deliver to take both titles.
Monza, did they play it wrong? And Hungary, in hindsight, did they play that wrong?
You can see how in Hungary they played it wrong by giving Piastri precedence in the results. And then you can see how coming through in Monza, Piastri running away with the result to even take second place over Lando, despite it being Lando's fault that he didn't get clear of Piastri. Team orders, if we're going to claim this papaya rules situation that we've all come to loathe, it needs to go down the route of Norris, even when he hasn't essentially, I don't know, earned that victory. Sounds harsh to say because he's done a very good job, but being first on paper the whole way through the Grand Prix, you've got to maximize every single point. So in the aspect of a championship, yes, McLaren played it wrong. They should have focused on one. I don't think Oscar Piastri would have absolutely thrown the toys out the pram and gone, that's it, I've had enough, see you later, in the space of 18 months of being at the team.
Harry, since you weren't on the review episode on Sunday, my first question to you has to be, what do you think of papaya rules?
Oh, come on, Harry, give us the lowdown.
He's a fan. I can see it. He's
I can see glee on his face.
What? Okay. You know how back in the days of Ron Dennis running McLaren, everything had its own...
Can you imagine Ron Dennis saying papaya rules?
I actually think, can we check he's still alive? Because I think he might have exploded after that. I think he might have died. Why are you making this more complicated? Ridiculous McLaren. Papaya rules is stupid. No one seems to know what it actually means, but anyway, we'll get onto that later.
Zach Brown explained what it meant. He actually explained it, and he said it was something along the lines of, don't make contact and leave each other room. And it's just basically racing.
Right, so every team has papaya rules then.
Yeah, it's the normal rule set with how you treat your teammate.
Rules. So you got red rules for Ferrari, blue rules for Red Bull, Mercedes a silver rule. This stupid concept. Anyway, was there a follow-up question? Oh, the actual question about Norris and Piastri. The actual question
is, what should McLaren do from this point onwards in terms of their strategy?
I think, yeah, if they want to challenge for this title, they're going to have to throw it behind their weight behind Norris. Piastri is in a way that Perez has never proved this to be an issue with Red Bull, because he's never that close to Verstappen. Piastri is proving a bit of an issue for McLaren, because it's great from a constructor's point of view when they're so equally matched at points during a race weekend. But for natural drivers' championship, it's not helping because Piastri is quite good. And as I said in my power rankings, he pulled Norris's pants down on lap 1 in Monza, and Norris can't afford for that to happen. McLaren can do as much as they can to throw their weight behind Lando to help get the championship, but Norris is, as you said, Sam, Norris has also got to help himself. Like, you can't be doing that, because if Verstappen had a car that was slightly more competitive, as we've seen, I think he'd pull Norris's pants down as well in those sorts of situations. So, yes, the inter-team battling is not helping, and Norris and McLaren missed out in terms of gaining more on Verstappen in the Monza. But at the same time, I almost don't blame them, because this is such a weird... The pace at which McLaren have become a championship contender, I almost don't blame them, because they're still in like this period of like the good times. They're in the good times because they were in the bad times so much for so long. These are the good times, and it's almost like, well, they want to like jeopardize the good times by telling one driver to back off and let the other one through for a championship, because it's been so long since they've even been challenging for race wins, let alone championships. So I can understand their hesitancy behind that. But if they are serious about challenging for drivers, they're going to have to throw it behind Norris. But I do think it's going to be... I'm not saying Piastri's going to refuse to, because he's very early in his career and there'll be more chances for him. But it's going to be a difficult one to try and rein him in, because he's proving he can be quicker, as quick or quicker than Norris.
Statistically speaking, first of all, it's a no-brainer from this point onwards to help Lando Norris rather than Oscar Piastri. And if we're looking at probabilities, they absolutely should have done it at Monza, and they absolutely should have done it at Hungary. But therein lies a slight issue, because if we are just looking at probabilities, I think that's a problem. Let me just pose a situation that didn't happen, but let's just say it did. Race 1 of the season, Bahrain this year, Max Verstappen gets pole, Perez gets second, and Perez takes the lead on the first lap. Should Perez have to give up that position on lap 2?
No.
No, it's absurd. They're 0-0. But if we're talking probabilities, that Verstappen has won you the championship the last couple of years. He is so much more likely going to need those 7 points at the end of the year than Perez is. Based on history, probability-wise, you should make that move.
Alternating question to challenge your point of view.
That's not my point of view, by the way.
No, but to raising a point that may be far more similar to where McLaren are. First race of the season, Lewis Hamilton takes pole, Nico Rosberg is second. At the end of lap 2, Nico Rosberg has taken the lead, but Hamilton has won you the title the last 2 years. Would you swap them over? Because I feel like that's far more a closer relationship than at McLaren than what we're seeing with Verstappen and Perez, right?
But that's probability. And again, you would still make that move because Hamilton has done it the last couple of times and you'd end up being wrong. And I'm not, by the way, I'm saying you should definitely not do that because that's ridiculous. But at the same time, if you're looking at probability, yeah, Verstappen's far more likely going to need those 7 points. And if by the end of the year, Verstappen loses the championship by 5 points, people could rightly say, well, first race of the season, if they switch positions, he wins the Drivers' Championship. And that's why I think it's an issue just to look at that probability, because we are, I think, in very unusual circumstances with Norris and Piastri. To the points you've made, there's not a gap between them. Pretty much every instance of like team orders that we've seen consistently used over modern F1 times has been between Schumacher and Barrichello, or Bottas and Hamilton, or Perez and Verstappen, where there is a clear advantage for one driver over the other. That's not the case. Last 9 races, which is a fair sample size, Piastri, no one has scored more points than him. 9 races. Piastri leads the way. And the racing fan in me can't help but think there's something a bit wrong with if McLaren need to start using team orders so frequently. And look, I'll probably burn the internet to the ground, but if they need to start using team orders, let's say once every 2 or 3 races, does that devalue the championship? I think it does. I think if you are needing that much help to go ahead and win, which, let's face it, Hungary, he would have needed help in that, yeah, he got by when Piastri didn't have the right of a pit stop when he should have done. And obviously here in Monza, he would have needed to get by as well. That's 2 of the last 4 races. If that continues on, I think that does tarnish a Drivers' Championship just a little bit. And Norris fully deserves to, whenever he wins that first championship, whether it's this year, next year, 5 years from now, he deserves to win that championship knowing that he was the absolute best driver and he didn't need help to do it. I completely get team orders. Abu Dhabi 2021, completely get Perez helping out Verstappen. But that was a very different situation to what we've currently got here. So, I don't know. Again, statistically, I cannot argue if McLaren used team orders from this point onwards because it makes complete sense. But I think in terms of what the Drivers' Championship is there for, I think there's at least a rebuttal to it.
Yeah, if you're right. If the next 6 of 8 Grand Prix work out the same as Monza, but at the end of the race they go swap the cars round and Norris ends up winning the championship, everyone is going to go, he won because the team let him win. I think you're very right to say that. And it's just in the world of Michael Schumacher at Ferrari where Barrichello was told to side along out the way occasionally. This would be well, actually, if you count back the amount of races throughout the season, Piastri would have beaten Norris across more races than he didn't beat him and probably should be the one fighting for the title across the whole season.
Also, just a quick note to McLaren, because I know McLaren definitely listen to this podcast. They're big fans. Do not lose sight of that Constructors' Championship because they haven't won a Constructors' Championship since 1998. It has been a very long time since they've won that title. And I feel like people are already moving on from it. Like almost, even though they haven't got the lead yet, it's almost like that's a foregone conclusion. They're going to have the Constructors' Championship. And now our attention turns to the drivers to see if Lando Norris can win that one as well. It's not over. It's not over in the immortal words of the Claxons. Like it's
sensational.
You really need to pay attention to both Ferrari and Red Bull, because Red Bull, we've seen weirder things than if they were to recover from this weird slump. Ferrari are not that far behind. They need to ensure that whatever they do Drivers' Championship-wise, it doesn't impact what they've done to this point, which is eat into a sizable gap in that Constructors' title.
I think, Ben, you... Oh, sorry, Sam.
I was simply going to ask a really basic question. Would you choose to take the Constructors over the drivers right now as McLaren? Would you go...
%.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. That's where all the prize money comes from. Like, they don't get anything from a Drivers' Championship. They would love both, obviously. But if you've got to pick one or the other as a team, Constructors.
Sorry, Harry.
No, I was just going to say, Ben, you made this point on the review podcast. Piastri and McLaren, they were focusing too much on Sunday on the other McLaren and lost the race. Like, if they do that again and again and again, they could fluff the Constructors. So, yeah, watch out for for Ferrari and Red Bull.
Are you confident, Sam, that Piastri will be fully compliant or mostly compliant with whatever he's asked to do?
Do you know what? Yeah, I am. The kid is so built for this industry. He's so cool-headed. He's like a sponge when it comes to pressure. What was it that Alan Shearer said during the Euros?
Pressure? What pressure?
What pressure?
Pressure for tyres.
That is so relevant to Oscar Piastri right now. He doesn't feel pressure. Pressure's for tyres. The kid soaks it up. And I think he would happily sit there and say, I'm good enough. He is not, and this is no disrespect to these drivers, he is not a Rubens Barrichello. He is not a Mark Webber. He is not Giancarlo Fisichella. You know, it comes up to these greats of Formula One that Norris could be eventually. He knows, all right, I'm still learning. I'm 18 months into my F1 career here. Norris can take this one, and I'll work with him to get it. But on an even playing field where we have got the car to win, you bet your bottom dollar that from race one, I will be snatching that first place off you, as I did in Monza, and I will take it from the start. And I think for now, he's very happy I'll get the Constructors under my belt. That's a win. Good for me. And now I go on. I really do think that out of all the secondary drivers in Formula One, he is the kid you want on your side.
Harry, do you see Piastri playing the team player role if he's asked to do so from now on?
I think he will. I think he will do it, but I think he'll be reluctant. He'll show some reluctance in that because I think he already knows he's a match. He's a match for Norris, and you know he's only year 2 into his career. So I'm not saying he won't play ball, because I think he will, and he's sensible. His manager, Mr. Mark Webber's very sensible and
he hasn't got any experience of this.
No, none at all.
None.
He's actually, whilst this is all happening, Webber's just like rocking in the corner. He's got PTSD, war flashbacks.
That contract is ironclad, mate, because he's there.
Multi-21 echoes in his brain.
It's actually just Seb behind him, whispering at all times. Torturing him from the past.
Enjoying retirement, Seb. Torturing Mark Webber.
Just lives in the spare room of Webber's house.
Whispering through the air conditioning vent.
Multi-24 world title.
Every night before he goes to bed, smashes the glass down.
Good. I have no idea what the rest of my point was now. Anyway, no, I think he will play. He's got sensible people around him. You know, it's like I said just now. He's early doors in his career. So if he is sensible, which I think he is, then he'll play the team game now.
I'm less convinced.
Oh, really?
Spicy.
Do you think so?
I think like later in the season, if it unfolds that Piastri has no shot at the championship and Norris still does, I believe 100% he'll do whatever he needs to do. Right now, I don't know. I think at the very least, it's what Harry said in that it will be with reluctance. But I do, a part of me thinks right now that Piastri, even though he's a long way back in the Drivers' Championship and it's pretty unlikely he'll feature in that battle, I think until he thinks that he can't, I don't know. And I appreciate that he might get another opportunity next year and years. He should do. You never know. Never know.
It's Formula One. These things happen.
There's an opportunity, even if it's a slight one, there's an opportunity in front of Piastri right now, and there is no guarantee he will get that again, even if he should get another opportunity.
Separately, about Piastri, I've just been so impressed by... He's like iRobot. The speed this robot learns new skills is mind-blowing. Because at the start of the season, we were saying, he's not a Max Norris yet. Okay, he's getting better at qualifying. Brilliant. He's there as a great second driver. And then it hit kind of Spain level. And almost all of a sudden, he became, all right, you're right there with him. You're feeling pretty good. And then we got to Hungary. Yeah, that's a fair shout. And then suddenly, his race pace, which was almost the weakest thing, the tyre management, the ability to go the full hog, the full 100% of a race at the same level as Norris, vanished. And he just could. He could just keep up with him. And I have been so impressed with the way that Oscar Piastri has gone from being a rookie 18 months ago, like so much to learn, promising, but so much to learn, to I'm keeping up with Lando Norris, who so many people think is like the next prodigy of Formula One. And he's almost regularly beating him now. It's so impressive.
Imagine
so many people after you saying that he's regularly beating him.
Am I wrong?
They're coming for you, boy.
Coming for you, boy.
I'll fight you all.
Sam's had 3 Aperols, folks, all right? He's getting feisty.
Come at me.
I've got a beer. I'll smash you.
Clip that, Kirsty.
Imagine saying, like, around China or Australia of this year, when Norris was comfortably beating Piastri. Imagine saying at that point, damn, if only Piastri was a bit better right now, it wouldn't cost him in the Drivers' Championship. Like, for a Drivers' Championship, a win. Because, like, realistically, if he starts the year better, if his first 5 races or so this year were better, he'd be right there.
Australia is the notable one for me. If he was in that fight with the Ferraris properly and beat one of them at least, obviously Sainz won the Grand Prix, but with Verstappen out, you think he finishes on the podium? That's another 8-9 points that go his way.
Yeah, China, he was nowhere near Norris. It's just like there were a number of races to start this year where Piastri was quite comfortably off the pace of Norris. And at the time you were thinking, well, for his own sake, he needs to get back in the fight with Norris. But no one at that point was thinking, wow, if only he picked up some more points, he'd be right in that Drivers' Championship battle when we get out of Monza. Like, that would have sounded ridiculous, but here we are.
And now he's scored the most points out of anyone over the last 7-8 races.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Right, we'll take our first break on this episode. On the other side, we're chatting Kimi Antonelli. At long last, the worst kept secret in F1 history has finally been announced. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, the 18-year-old prodigy, has been announced at Mercedes for 2025. Antonelli said, reaching F1 is a dream I've had since I was a small boy. I want to thank that. He's still a small boy. What's he talking about? I want to thank the team for the support they've given me in my career so far and the faith they've shown in me. I am still learning a lot, but I feel ready for the opportunity. I will be focused on getting better and delivering the best possible results for the team. And then Toto Wolff said, we're excited about what George and Kimi bring to the team, both as individual drivers, but also as a partnership. Our new lineup is perfect to open the next chapter in our story. It is also a testament to the strength of our junior program and our belief in homegrown talent. Harry Eade, firstly, I've got to give you credit. Back in April, you were the only one of the three of us that predicted this was going to happen. So well done. Did they make the right call?
I predicted it right. Excellent.
You did, didn't you?
You did, yeah.
Let's go with the yes. I don't know. I think, yes, this is the right call. Oh, no, wait a second. Carlos Sainz still exists. No.
No,
I don't know. I
sure?
I probably would have gone for I know I didn't predict that, but I would have gone for Sainz.
What about Max Verstappen, mate?
He's not going anywhere. I don't think so.
Toto Wolff still thinks he is.
He's ringing him every
Toto
day.
Wolff turned him down.
You sure? You sure, Max?
Sorry, Max. I've got a new kick on the block.
Are you sure? Also, I saw Nico Rosberg with like, George, what you see, mate? Because he still wants Verstappen. I'm like, that's savage. Anyway.
It might also not be wrong.
We just spreading rumours like bloody a sprinkler right now. You take all the rumours.
Is it the right call? Yeah, I think given what they had, he apparently, Toto said he decided on this 5 minutes after Lewis Hamilton handed in his notice, which is absolute horseman. Yeah,
what a load of bull.
Shut up, Toto.
I think, and it was a funny quote, I think he more meant like he could see it as a possible, like he could see that as their future rather than it was definitely what he wanted to do.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
Look, it's a bold call for Mercedes. They have, since they rejoined in 2010, never done this. Have they ever had a rookie? No. They've been the only team, not the only team, I guess, but very steadfast in they have always picked experienced drivers for since they began. They've always had a 7 times or future 7 times world champion. They've always had a world champion in their team. This will be the first time they've not, and it's a bold call. So I guess that shows the trust they're putting in Antonelli here, and it's gonna bring a different. There's no doubt about his talent, but it's going to bring a different dynamic to the Mercedes way of doing F1, and not a criticism on Antonelli, but he will be a rookie, and there'll be rookie mistakes, and they're going to have to accept that. My worry is they get into next year, which I guess they may not be challenging, but look, given the progress they've made this year, they could have a title fight in 2025. They might regret if Antonelli, judging by his parabolica antics in FP1, which again is excusable because he's a rookie, it could cost him. I might be wrong on that, obviously, but he is a rookie, and that it's forgivable for Antonelli. Obviously, don't throw it at the wall at every opportunity, but it's forgivable if he is that quick but slightly hot-headed or occasionally crashing. That's fine because he's going to be in his first year of F1. But if they are in a title fight, which Mercedes could be next year, I mean, they're not that far off this one, let's be real, but it's less realistic. Then Antonelli might be a bit of a concern on that front. But he has the faith, clearly. He's invested. George Russell must be thinking, what the frack did I do 3 years in a Williams for? Antonelli gets a seat straight away.
When they didn't have an ex-Mercedes man leading the team.
Yeah, exactly.
And now they do, and then it's not happening. Yeah, okay, sure.
Anyway, but yeah, so Josh would be hard done by that. But yeah, I think overall the right call. I think they're just gonna have to. The approach they're gonna have is gonna be very different. It's gonna be a different team. George is gonna be their team leader, which is a different dynamic for him. It's gonna be interesting to see how it pans out, but there's no doubt he has the speed and commitment, as we saw in FP1. He just needs to start toning that down a little bit. Not every lap has to be Q3 last 30 seconds.
Yeah. Commitment, yeah, I don't think he's short of that. Simmer down is Harry Ead's advice to Kimi Antonelli. It's an interesting point about how, yes, they're not in a championship battle this season, but they are far more competitive than when Lewis Hamilton decided to leave the team, Sam, which I think is interesting. Do you still think this is the right call even with that? Or, as Harry mentions, should they have gone for someone with more experience?
Yeah, look, before they made this call, when they rejoined Formula One up until the end of this season, as a total, they will have had 15 world titles driving for them, right? 7 for Schumacher, 7 for Hamilton, 1 for Rosberg. Going into the 2025 season, with both of their drivers, they will have a combined 2 Grand Prix victories. That is a ginormous exchange of experience, talent. It's a huge transition between raw, young ability and this kind of level-headed, long-term Formula One knowledge. And what I think Mercedes are doing correctly, what they're doing well, is I think even if they are with the car ready to go for a constructors title in 2025, I think they are, quite rightly, almost exchanging a 1-year approach for 2025 for the hope that from 2026 onwards, they might end up doing a hybrid season again. Essentially, they might end up doing we'll give up 2025 and then 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's where we focus. We give up the championship for 1 year at the end of one transitional season, and then we dominate. With Kimi Antonelli having a season under his belt, he can make those mistakes. He could be a rookie. He could put it in the wall at Parabolica again if he wants to, because he's trying to impress desperately. George Russell could get his leadership boots on. He could shout a few crikeys over the radio, and then once we get into 2026, boom, we've got a team with experience and we are ready to go with a really developed car that can win us titles year after year after year. I think if you're going to transition between almost undeniably unbeatable experience in Lewis Hamilton to this pure rookie with George Russell as your team leader, now is the time to do it. They're not there at the top of the tables. They're not winning races regularly. Give it a year. Let Kimi develop. Then go into 2026 with both feet on the ground, running towards the goal that you want to achieve.
Yeah, I'm going to selfishly just piggyback on really both of the points that both of you have just made, because I also had written down as to how their lineup doesn't change a lot and they do go for experienced drivers. Kimi Antonelli, since Mercedes returned to the sport in 2010, Kimi Antonelli will be their 6th driver. That's it.
It's amazing.
Which in what will be their 16th season back. For reference, that's the same number of drivers that McLaren have used in IndyCar this year. Which might say more about McLaren than it does Mercedes. But yeah, they're all experienced. Rosberg, 70 races before he went to Mercedes. Michael Schumacher, 7 championships and 249 races. Hamilton, 110. Bottas, 77. George Russell was previously the most inexperienced driver to race for Mercedes. He did 59 races before he joined Mercedes full time. And here's Kimi Antonelli with none whatsoever. So it's bold. It's bold. And to be honest, in a time where F1 teams often don't go for the bold pick, I'm all right with it. And actually, I'm with Sam's line of thinking on this, in that as their competitiveness has evolved this year, it's become increasingly easy for them to back out of this and say, 2025, if McLaren and Red Bull are too focused on 2026, it's been a horrible sort of era for us. Maybe we can end it with a bang. Maybe we could win one championship. And I think it would have been a bit of a trap. And I think they're right to focus on 2026 onwards by giving Antonelli 2025 as his rookie year, as it should be. So, yeah, I agreed with that point. We obviously saw his crash, Harry, in FP1. Is there any concerns from that, or is this just going to be a case of he's a rookie, he hadn't driven an F1 car before?
There is the element of he is a rookie. That's fair. It does feel like there's a bit of hot-headedness in that, given not hot-head. That's pretty bit unfair, but you know, it was his home race in terms of
eagerness,
home track, eagerness to prove. But given that it was a contract that we knew that was coming, and evidenced by the fact it was announced like the next day, he must have already signed this. Nothing was riding on this FP1 appearance. I don't know. There's a bit of me. It's just a bit. I would just be, again, take it with a pinch of salt. He's a rookie. These things happen, and it was quite a slippery new surface. There's a few factors involved there, but you don't need to prove to the world that you are the next Ayrton Senna incarnate during FP1 in Monza for the first time you've driven an F1 car in a competitive session. If I was Toto, I'd just be like, I know he said, don't worry, it's all good. But if I was Toto, I'd just be like, chill, my boy. Everything is well. You don't need to go and do that, because that could come back to bite him if that's the sort of... and again, as you say, commitment, you cannot fault it whatsoever. Boy, he was committed.
Definitely not.
I've watched the onboard through Ascari before that corner. He is committed. As
My
I
boy
said,
thinks it's Q3.
Exactly. He thinks it's the last lap in Q3, and it's not. It's the third lap in FP1. So you cannot fault it, but he's not going to get very far in F1 if you do that. And it's better to be fast. We always say it's better to be faster and have that than be slow, because you can't really teach people to get faster, but you can tame that sort of eagerness out of them as long as they are already fast. So yeah, I think it was a bit silly. I think he could have eased into it a bit more, but you know, there wasn't really much riding on it in the end, so I don't think it matters too much.
I am more confident after his crash than I was before it. Genuinely more confident after he crashed that car, which sounds completely backwards, but that told me that kid is comfortable and he is confident within the environment. And right now, I don't think anything's more important than that for Antonelli. He went out there and he fully committed, and he made an error. He's 18. He made an error. He's going to make more errors next year. But do you know who kept making errors 4 years into their F1 career? Max Verstappen. They have hired him because he has God-given pace behind the wheel of a car, right? He is so good. And that's why they hired him. I would have been way more worried if he went out there with the attitude of, this is my first FP1 session. I just need to make sure I get every minute under my belt. I can't possibly I don't know, destroy George Russell's weekend. I just need to make sure that I get around in one piece. I'd have been more worried if that was his approach. He went all out. And yes, they'll need to refine his approach, definitely. And that will come with time. But the way he attacked that race circuit just made me think, boy, this guy, he knows it's okay to make errors early in his career. And I'm looking forward to seeing him attack some more race circuits next year because, let's face it, the best do that. They attack the race circuit. And weirdly, I was more confident after he crashed it.
Just me that blames Mercedes for what happened. You got a rookie, FP1, you're against Lewis Hamilton. The car is running well. They put him on fresh softs on a completely green track. They clearly put him on a low fuel load. And they get him to push like Magnussen, knowing they're going to do an announcement between practice sessions. So he obviously in his mind, subconsciously or not, goes, I want to impress. And I have no issue that he crashed at all. But there are a lot of people out there that go, what a muppet. Why has he put that in the wall? What a silly boy. And we know that actually raw pace is more a perk than consistency. Like we've just said there, your early career, I'd rather you win one race and crash out of 3 than finish P6 for 3 races in a row. Because that shows that you've got pace to harness and to really drive in. But I do think Mercedes maybe said, we're going to make this a moment at your home Grand Prix. And they amped him up. And I kind of blame them for what happened. I don't blame him. He's got every right to go out there, enjoy driving a bloody Formula 1 car at full pelt around his home Grand Prix. Awesome moment. Incredible for him. I think they put a little bit too much excitement in him. I think they bigged him up too much. And actually, I hope that this crash has gone, he's not perfect. He's got a lot to learn. And everyone can take a deep breath and take a step back. And actually, it might calm some people down.
Weirdly, I think, again, for me, it comes back to the same point of Mercedes had the confidence in him to have that run.
True.
And Antonelli had the confidence, forget the result for one moment, but the team had the confidence in him and he has the confidence in himself because the team has confidence in him. And I think that will help him in time. It's not always going to go perfectly. And in some instances, it's going to go horribly. But at least they have the trust in this guy that they are willing to let him do that sort of run. I think it's actually a net positive.
Did you see what was clearly the largest lump in the world in George Russell's throat as he saw his car fly straight into the wall? That man.
George Russell agrees, yeah.
He was worried, boy. Panicking.
Yeah. And, well, not a discussion for today, but I know Rosberg did joke about it. Well, I don't think he joked. Rosberg was probably being very serious about Verstappen and Toto Wolff still trying to chase him. But, you know, if Antonelli matches Russell next year or it's pretty close, Russell's third in the pecking order, let's face it.
Ooh, okay. That's another topic for another day.
Okay, before we go to our second break, it's time for F1 Fantasy Update, of course.
Yay!
You can always tell by Sam's reaction as to how well he's done in a week. Worst poker player in the world, but...
I really am terrible at poker.
Before we get to the 4 of us, congratulations to Hyrule, who won this week with 345 points.
That's too many.
Yes, far too many. The top 3 overall, it's all gone wrong, leading the way. But despite the fact that it wasn't a great weekend for the Papayas on track, it was a great weekend for the Sweet Papayas. They're back to second, which means the Fiat is back down to third.
Oh, Fiat 500 Twitter are going to be livid.
The Panda's in jeopardy.
Papaya rules!
But how are we doing? I thought I'd done pretty horribly this week, but I have actually made a bit of progress. I've gone up 20 positions to 213th.
Lovely.
Kirsty, after making a lot of progress at the Dutch Grand Prix, absolutely foot nowhere near the break because another 31 positions gained up to 319th. Despite the fact that in both of our teams, by the way, Logan Sargent is just sat there doing nothing.
That's so funny.
But the thing is, he's so cheap, I might just keep him there. I genuinely might keep him there. Yeah, exactly.
Pick.
Sam, you had a bit of a bounce back week. 51 positions gained up to 393rd.
I love that.
So I've gained positions. Kirsty's gained positions. Sam's gained positions. Oh, hello, Harry.
Oh, hello there.
You nearly get it. You only went down 6 this week, which, to be fair, that's probably the best in like 10 races.
Yeah, that's half the amount of positions I dropped last week, the week before.
There's only like 8 people behind you, shortly.
Yeah.
By the end of this season, you might be gaining a position or two. If you're interested, 1,530th.
That's not bad.
No, it is.
No, it wasn't great.
If your team name next year could just be the Green Toaster, that'd be great.
I had Hulkenberg in my team, didn't help.
Shocker.
I put Colapinto being in my team as well.
I did all right.
You should have got some good points from that, yeah.
I think I just looked at the little graph. That's the best race I've had for a long time.
I still lost 6. Good stuff.
Anyway, let us know how you're doing in F1 Fantasy, of course. Are you beating all 4 of us? Are you beating 3 of us? Are you beating 1 of us? I think there'll be quite a lot of people in that final group, but let us know how you're doing. On the other side of this break, we're going to be chatting through Kevin Magnussen's ban from the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Kevin Magnussen. Not a great Italian Grand Prix for one reason. 1 point, one ban, I think he put in, or something to that effect in an Instagram post, which is very true. If you missed it, Kevin Magnussen has been banned from the next round of the World Championship after incurring 12 penalty points on his racing license. He'd collected 10 points in just the first 5 races of this year. He avoided any further penalties for the next 9 Grand Prix, but his collision with Pierre Gasly at Monza earned him 2 penalty points, which takes him to 12. Interestingly enough, Pierre Gasly has said that he hopes that they can revert on it because he didn't really lose any time from the incident. It doesn't seem as if that will be the case, and it looks like the FIA might actually go through with something, Sam. Are they right to?
Yeah, our King Gasly there, sticking up for a real legend in Kevin Magnussen. You love to see it, right?
The most unlikely partnership in F1 history.
KMag and
the
Gasly.
FIA versus Gasly and Magnussen.
I think it's going to be a tag team match in the ring. Yeah, no, honestly, I love that from Gasly. Absolutely love that. Ow! I've absolutely kneed the table. I'm so sorry. That's a massive disruption to the show. Good. I think we need to have, again, we've discussed this so many times on the show, a standardization of what deserves a penalty in a race. What is a 5 second? What is a 10 second? What is a drive through? They don't exist anymore. You know, what is a stop go? They don't exist anymore. But also, what deserves penalty points, right? This is a 5 second, 10 second penalty, right? That came out of the situation. It felt extreme at the time. Gasly has come out himself and said, I didn't really lose anything from this incident. I wasn't really massively affected. It was just a bit clumsy, a bit silly, which I think is quite admirable of Gasly because a lot of drivers will happily sit there and just be quiet and go, you hit me, you know, that's on you. But I do think we need to have a very clear divide here on what causes the separation between in-race penalisation, whatever secondary amount that might be, and what warrants penalty points on a licence, right? Because they are very separate. They are very serious in one situation. One is very momentary in terms of the race situation. So the FIA do need to come out and be clear here that if they revert on this, if they do change their direction in how they penalise Kevin Magnussen and therefore reverse the race ban, of course, they need to make sure that this is upheld everywhere. This is consistent, that points in future are not given for penalties on their licence, but rather just in the race. We need to make sure that we are giving penalties on the licence for really dangerous driving and not just you hit another driver, but it was a mistake. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it might be. I just think they need to, again, be very clear with their ruling and how the rules are administered moving forward.
Sorry, Kevin, I've got no sympathy whatsoever. He knows the rules. They've been in place for a while now. And look, if this sort of thing happens, like, let's say 3 times a season where a driver is banned, maybe at that point we should look and say, you know what, it's probably too easy to collect these points. But to remind everyone, this has never happened in F1. Never happened. The last time someone was banned was Romain Grosjean. That was 12 years ago, and that was before this system existed. If it was so frequent, we'd have drivers all over the place getting bans. We haven't. Kevin Magnussen has known at every single Grand Prix this season exactly what the rules are. He knew that going into Saudi Arabia when he drove the way he did. He knew that going into Miami when I think he picked up 5 points at Miami alone. Yep. He knew that. And I cannot believe, and they probably won't now. I can't believe that the FIA are actually going through with this. Like, we have a system in place and we're gonna use it. Sorry, Kevin. Again, I'm happy to have discussions about whether things should be tweaked in the system. Sure, all aboard that. But equally, you know the rules, Kevin. And despite that, you know, I appreciate Gasly saying that, you know, it didn't cost me any time. But hey, I mean, that's luck. That could have very easily caused Gasly to retire, in which case, should the penalty be different? My answer is no. It should have been a 10-second penalty either way. So, again, I don't think it dissuades from racing. Again, he is the only driver this has ever affected, and I think he deserves the ban for it. Harry?
I'm with Sam. I think that in the current rules, I would agree with you, Ben. Yes, he deserves a ban, but I think the weighting needs to change in terms of what is a deserved penalty and what's deserving of penalty points and what isn't, because there are some things that KMag has done. Yes, penalty points very much deserved, but what he got for Sunday's antics doesn't really feel fair. And I know it's you know, that's the thing that gets him banned. It's obviously not because there's an accumulation, but and as you say, Ben, he knows the rules. He's got to play by them. So I in that sense, I agree with it, but it does feel a little bit savage that some incidents that are way less deliberate or even thought about get the same amount of penalty points as ones that are very much, you know, minimal in their impact. So I think it needs some refining, but within the current rules, I can't really argue with the ban. It's also a lot of banter.
Yeah, I actually kind of love a ban for the banter. You know, I'm enjoying it.
Just to throw another question in there. Let's say Kevin Magnussen does that exact move on Gasly once every 4 races. Should he be banned?
No.
So then your answer is no, because that's, you know, he got 2 points for that. He needs 12 overall. So if he does that every 4 races, that would, over the course of a year, give him 12 points. So
this is the point
that answers the question.
Yeah, this is the point I'm making of some penalties should just be race applied. Some are not malicious, some are not dangerous. In racing, accidents will happen. Cars will come together. And you could get a 5 or a 10-second penalty. Penalty points should be severe. They should be worrying moments within driving. Lance Stroll or whatever it was down the back. So with Fernando Alonso, I think, was driving into the back of someone and flipping, going down Cota, right down the back straight of Cota a couple of years ago. That was a worrying moment where someone moved under braking.
It was his future teammate.
Good. It was Stroll. I'm glad I thought of that correctly. And that moment you sit there and go, whoa, that is scary. You've nearly cost from their life at that point because you have drove erratically. This was not that. Magnussen made a mistake, I agree with. He was at fault, but it was not anything over the top more than it should just be a race penalty.
It's not been confirmed yet, but assuming this will be Behrman subbing in. I appreciate Komatsu, when he was asked about it at the weekend, couldn't confirm it because at least at this point, he's not a Haas driver and he does need confirmation from Ferrari that they can go ahead with this. But Harry, I'm assuming that it's the only sensible option, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? And for Behrman, this is, I know he's already had one this year, but this is like another free weekend of F1 before he actually does it properly. It doesn't really matter what he does. He was obviously very impressive in Saudi for Ferrari. But this is a nice opportunity to do a race weekend with the team. In a slower car, but yeah. But do a race weekend with a team that he's going to drive for next year. Like, there are not many rookies that get that opportunity. Nick de Vries is one that springs to mind.
2 in one season. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Nico Hulkenberg style. So, again, Hulkenberg's probably like, I'll do it, boss. You know, no, Nico.
But you have a team.
You are already in this team.
You can't drive both cars, Nico.
I'll do it, Oris, for Haas.
But yeah,
we were banking on it, Nico. Cheers.
Please.
Very valuable opportunity for Behrman.
Yeah. Anything to say on Behrman, Sam?
There you go. Call up Enzo Fittipaldi, are they? Come on.
Probably not.
Put someone in the car that's actually going to deliver, and Behrman has.
Pietro would be, I guess, more appropriate given he was the one that raced the Haas, right?
How old is Pietro now? Late 20s? He's as old as I am, isn't he?
He's 52.
He's as old as his father.
So yes, he's as old as you, yeah. Right, let's move on to James Vowles. there was enough going on at the weekend, and he decided, I'm just going to make some spicy comments that everyone's going to talk about.
Got a barbecue out, didn't he?
Exactly. There's quite a lot of quotes. I think it's fair to mention all the quotes on this one. So he was speaking in the media day that they have before the weekend, and he said the following about Mick Schumacher. Mick has improved a lot from where he was in Haas. There was no doubt about it. He's a competent driver that I know he had his time, but he has done incredible work with Alpine, with Mercedes, and with McLaren in the meantime. And all advocates, if you speak to them, will tell you where he's adapted and where he's changed. So it becomes a decision about what they were going to do with the Williams seat. Do we invest in the future, or do we invest in someone else as a result of it? I think both would fall into the category of not special. I think we have to be straightforward about this. Mick isn't special. He would have just been good. Toto Wolff basically said, he says things too straightforwardly sometimes, does our James. That was a statement he could have done without. And just to mention as well that James Vowles later in the weekend did clarify his comments to say that he's not here to put Mick down. And when he was using the word special, he was using it in the context of multiple world champions like Senna and Hamilton. And he said it was a foolish thing to do because that's the comparison. Interesting comment, Sam.
Yeah, it was spicy. And F1 Twitter took this one out of context and absolutely ran the full 100 yards with it. It was a poor comment. It was a poor comment. And in the world where things get chopped and skipped and changed, he must have known that this was not going to reflect well on him. At the same time, there's not a single word I disagree with from James Vowles in that sentiment. Mick Schumacher is good. That's all he is. Better than I'll ever be at driving a bloody car. He is a F2 champion. He is going to be a very standard and solid racing driver for the rest of his career. Is he the same level as his dad? No, not even close. And that's no disrespect. 99.999% of racing drivers are not the same level as his father. It was almost impossible that he ever would be. I understand that most drivers, ex or current, do not get this kind of comment in the media. So it's going to be tough to take. And I understand why those have rushed to defend him. It makes sense. Was it poorly worded? Yeah, okay, sure. But was he wrong? No. Mick Schumacher is just good. He's not good enough to be leading a team in F1. And I think that he hit the nail on the head. But in the world that we live in, things get blown out of proportion.
Any problem with his comments, Harry?
He was a bit savage with them, but I don't think he's incorrect. More of my problem was not the Mick thing. Is more just James, mate. You don't need to justify your decisions quite so much as you're trying to here. Everyone's aware.
Do you think that's almost not good for Colapinto to see James Vowles having to defend the decision so much?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, and I guess we would have gone for someone slightly more experienced as we spoke about, and Colin Pinto, like, what's the gain here? And it does feel like James Vowles had to justify it slightly. Obviously, Mick was named as a potential replacement. Whether they actually considered it, I guess they must have done, but whether they actually got that far with it, I don't know. But it's more. It seems to be James overcompensating a little bit on his decision to take Colapinto. So. I don't think he's incorrect. Could have done it and could have said things in a slightly softer way. For Mick's sake, it's not, he's not going to make many friends there. Schumacher's done a very good job in what he's done in terms of reserve driver for Mercedes. He's obviously in WEC now. He is also F2 and F3 champion. Let's not forget. You don't do those things without being a very talented driver. But I think what James Vowles is trying to say is he's not a Lewis Hamilton, a Max Verstappen, a Michael Schumacher, or an Ayrton Senna, in the sense that he doesn't have that extra level. And there are many drivers in F1 who also do not have that level. It's just a fact. So he's correct in what he's saying. I think he said it maybe not in quite the way he meant to, and was overcompensating a little bit about his decision for Colapinto.
Yeah, similar points to you guys. I've seen a lot of outrage about the comments. I don't think I've seen one person say he was wrong. Like he's not wrong. Like he's absolutely right in what he's saying. But it was just a slip up. Like, it's just a messily worded sentence more than anything. But it is what it is. And in reality, yes, he should have just focused more on the benefits of Colapinto and the benefits of hiring from the academy rather than focusing on the alternative of Mick Schumacher. He could have just worded it ever so slightly different, but I don't think it's all that important. Again, I've barely seen anyone come out here and say what James Vowles said was incorrect. And that includes Toto Wolff. Toto Wolff's response did not say James Vowles is wrong. He just said he could have done without saying the statement. That's quite telling. So I think it was right. And, overall, despite the fact that I think this was not very well worded, if this is the sort of thing that we have to deal with, let's say once a year, like one badly worded sentence from James Vowles for his approach, like if his approach gives us this every so often, fine, I'll take that. Like what he gives us in terms of commentary when he does on the Sky pit wall sort of stuff, he's very open, he's very honest, and I think that it's something that we don't see from all team principals. If occasionally that style gives us one of these sentences, yeah, fine.
Can I just say... Sorry,
go on, Harry. Go on, mate.
Can I just say there are other team principals / members in other teams that have said far worse, so let's get over it, guys.
Flavio Briatore's probably said about 10 things worse since the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah. Helmut Marko, there you go. There's loads of them.
I invite this. Formula One is so polished. Formula One is so media trained. James Vowles said nothing incorrect. His phrasing might have been harsh, sure, but I welcome these more brash, honest statements as long as they are correct and based on analytics, which I think this was. I welcome it. Be more open. Be more, take a side. I love this from Formula One. Big up James Vowles. Also, we got a topic out of it. So cheers for the downloads.
Cheers, James.
Cheers, James. We're going to take our final break. On the other side, higher or lower. Welcome back, everyone, to the final part of today's episode. And it comes to higher and lower.
F1 higher, is F1 lower, is Sam faster, is Harry slower, F1 higher, F1 lower,
F1 higher or lower. I've got 6 questions in front of me. Sam and Harry will take it in turns, picking a question, and all of the answers are numeric. If they get it right, they get 2 points, but if they get it wrong, the other person has an opportunity to say higher or lower than the guess. If they're right, they get a point, but if they're wrong, the person who guessed first gets the point. Sam, what number would you like?
3.
Wow.
The early 3.
Off the back.
It's unheard of.
Yeah, that you've picked the horrible one, sorry. If you get this right, by the way, I'm either going to be incredibly impressed or you are just flat out cheating because this is ridiculous.
There is a part of me sometimes that I think I pick 3 every time. I wonder if you ever curate the 3 question.
I can honestly say I don't.
All right, cool, fine.
How many laps has Fernando Alonso done in his career?
I wouldn't even go out and cheat with this. I would even go at Google. Surely this isn't a Googleable stat. Did you add these up?
No, this is... I've got my sources.
I've got my sources here. Ketchup and HP, mate.
Hey, come on.
And we just laps in total. Not led or anything. Just laps.
Total laps completed in F1.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to go with... I've got to think of a realistic answer here. That's the hardest part. I'm not going to get it, but a realistic guess.
Why you... say an answer.
11,473.
You know what?
It's not correct.
Lower.
You want to go higher or you're going to go lower?
Lower.
Well, maybe all of that time thinking has actually helped Sam because he gets the point here.
Come on!
You were only out by about 10,000. 21,411 laps in F1, Fernando Alonso.
Blimey.
Madness.
My brain went like 600 laps a season, early days, and then I just times it by about 11.
And then he decided to come back and do some more, didn't he?
Do a load more, yeah, of course.
Harry, what number would you like?
Number 2, please.
Number 2. How many pole positions did Michael Schumacher have in his career?
Oh, he knows this. He knows the stat.
I don't know the exact number.
Yes, you do. You do know it. It's in there. And this happens all the time with Harry. It's in there. He'll go,
It's boiling.
Oh,
it's coming to the boil, isn't
Is it 66?
66, you said?
Yeah.
It's not 66, no.
Oh, crap.
Higher or lower than that, Sam?
I'm going to go higher.
A good guess, but 2 out. 68. So it is higher.
Damn. Oh, it's because he would have had 69 if Monaco counted. Damn it.
69.
I don't even know how to react to that one. 2-0 in the favour of Sam. And it's back to you, Sam. What question would you like?
I'll continue the countdown. Number 1.
Number 1. Bad news for fans of Countdown. That will be the last one, I'm afraid. How many wins has Lewis Hamilton had in years where he's won the Drivers' Championship?
Oh, I thought you were just going to stop there. And I thought, I think I could get this. In years that he's won the championship.
Yes.
Okay, so 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's what helped me. So that's good. I'm going to say 83.
It's not 83. Harry, higher or lower?
Higher.
It's not higher. It's lower. In fact, it's the same answer as the last one, 68.
Oh, wow.
69. Oh, right there.
I don't think we've ever had the same answer, have we?
So he averages just over 9 race wins in seasons where he wins the title. So 68.
Feels quite low.
Yeah, well, I
guess,
guess
yeah,
2008, obviously, he only won like 4 or 5 that year.
Sure.
And most of his other seasons he's won, I think he's got around the 11 mark. So kind of averages back out to
Mr. Consistent, right?
Yeah. So 3-0, Sam. Over to you, Harry.
Number 4.
Number 4. How many points did Sebastian Vettel win the 2013 championship by?
68.
I understand the logic. No, it's not 68. Higher or lower than 68, Sam?
Higher, in hope that it's 69.
Yeah, he pretty much crushed that year. 155.
Oh, no.
That's not 69.
No, it is not. You're right. Well, a clean sweep potentially on the cards here.
Don't put that pressure on me. I know we've
I will.
pressure being for tyres, but I am definitely the tyre.
Pressure? What pressure?
It's on me.
5 or 6, Sam?
5.
Okay, number 5. How many race winners were there in 2003?
Okay, Harry's there burning. I'm going to go with 5.
There weren't 5. Higher or lower, Harry?
Harry's counted them on his fingers. If you can't see, folks, you can watch this on YouTube, Late Breaking F1, and you can see him counting on said fingers.
Higher.
Out of interest, you're right.
Name
How
them.
many?
Like 7. Michael Schumacher, Ralph Schumacher, Barrichello, Coulthard, Montoya, Raikkonen, Fisichella. Oh, no, Alonso. 8
is correct, yes.
Well done, Harry Eade. Impressive as always.
Thank you. He says 4-1 down.
Oh, yes.
Mate, I'm going to be a humble gentleman. I've lost a lot in my time.
Number 6 or number 6, Harry?
Number 6, please.
Good answer. How many points did Max Verstappen get in 2020?
Not enough.
Statistically, yes, that is true.
168.
Again, appreciate the logic. No. Higher or lower, Sam?
Okay, that's a shame.
There are at least 18 Grand Prix. He regularly finished third. For third place, you get 15 points. I'm going to say higher.
It is higher. I'm not sure how many races there were in 2020 in the end, but I don't think we quite hit 18.
17?
17, 18. So around that, wasn't it? It was around
maybe.
that.
Anyway, it is higher. He had 214.
That's not 69.
You are absolutely right. Harry, you've been obliterated there, mate. What's happened?
I've lost that one.
Mate, it's fine. Take that one on the chin. I've lost so many.
We go again.
We go again.
Giamma.
Andiamo together.
Well, if that segment wasn't to your liking, I've got another one prepared for you. And it just so happens to be the greatest segment in all of podcasting. It is the
LB question of the week.
Beautiful.
Thank you for being quick.
Our question of the week was, what does papaya rules actually mean?
Barry's just come in there with the rule number 1 of papaya rules. We don't speak about papaya rules.
I'm glad that got in there.
Except we all speak about papaya rules constantly.
Jay Hammer with they eat papayas, which I quite like.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Daniel says, Piastri always passes and you are angry. It's an acronym.
Oh, that honestly, sensational answer. Thought that was brilliant. Very clever.
Well done. Well done, Daniel.
Wandering car with it's a nickname for Barry Manilow.
Here he comes again with the Copacabana old papaya rules.
Oh, God, it's sweet papayas.
Jackson here says, I understand that. Without my agreement, McLaren thinks that Lando Norris is fighting for a World Drivers' Championship, which is just a great play on him turning down a contract from Alpine.
I like the answer from Annette, which is, they're not actually rules. It's a cheerleading chant. Papaya rules.
It is from Billy Magnussen, right? And it is, Doyle rules. And that is what it reminds me of every time that someone says it. Matt Trusk says, you can't play a +4 on a reverse or skip. And that's a great Uno reference.
We had Uno and Monopoly references because I think Nick said, do not pass the start line, do not collect a driver's championship.
Correct.
Why not reading that one?
I know what that one is.
It means that Harry will say, and I've been papaya rules at the end of the episode, which is good.
Which you've guaranteed he's not going to say.
I'm not doing that now.
Well done.
Have you got one lined up already?
I do. It's not actually from this episode, but don't worry about it.
I always wonder when one clocks for you.
Sometimes it happens during the episode. Sometimes I forget that I do it each Wednesday, and then I have to quickly think of one during this part of the episode.
Right, yeah. It's like I want like a behind the scenes from your POV of when this happens.
Behind my brain.
Yeah.
I've got one last answer from Scott, which is, it means they'll be asking the drivers what they think about key strategies at 250 kilometers an hour instead of using the data in front of them to make the call.
Oof,
so large.
Which might be the most accurate answer out there.
Yeah, I've got to get this one.
Any last ones?
Yeah, this is from Burn It All Down. Otmar's 9 keys can only eat papayas for the week after a McLaren wing. You've got to get an Otmar joke in there.
It's not a question of the week without that.
It's an Otmar of the week.
It genuinely doesn't matter what the question is. Otmar's 9 kids will somehow find a way to feature.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. Thanks again. So many funny answers. There are, honestly, every week we get more and more and more. Literally hundreds at that point, and they're always so good.
Yep. Make sure you stay tuned to Instagram and Twitter. That's where they always appear, usually on a Monday evening here in Britain, so Monday afternoon in the US. And comment away, and we'll read some out on next week's episode. Who knows what that question will be? Sam, we're back on Sunday. Get us out of here.
We are back on Sunday for another standard episode because, of course, there's not going to be a preview until next week when we do the Baku preview, and we'll see if Kevin Magnussen has a drive. If you want some more content, you think, God, I'm lacking some F1 content. Harry, they can go to Patreon. How much would you pay for Patreon?
I'd pay a reasonable, like £12 or something. How much is that? How much is it a month?
It's actually £9.
Oh my God, £9.
$12.
But I've heard that there's a man
doesn't understand exchange rate.
There's a man next to you I can see. How much would he pay for Patreon?
Oh, hi, yeah, I'm Harry's mate. It does.
Convincing.
That is terrible.
The effort put into that.
Don't change your voice.
He doesn't change voice. He's never changed voice.
He He's the talkingest thing I ever seen, which is a donkey reference.
If I started doing a voice with him, people would know it's not him.
How much would he pay?
I reckon for that amount of content, it's at least $7,000 a month.
Yeah, you'd be pretty accurate. Like, if you want to give $7,000 a month, you're so welcome. We would appreciate it. It's not. It's £9, $11, $12, whatever it is. Yeah, you get Boomer Breaking, classic race. You get your shout outs for your birthday on your month. You get power rankings. You get 2 extra episodes. Everything ad free, which is always lovely as well. So check it out. It helps us out massively. Discord's the links in the description. Follow us on social media, Late Breaking F1 everywhere. You can watch this on YouTube, Late Breaking F1, and I stream on Twitch for the races, so Late Breaking Podcast on there as well. Thanks for joining us. We've had an absolutely lovely time. This is very, very late for us, so, sorry that it's going out a little bit late. Kirsty is going to have to stay up forever to edit this one. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
I've been a Beans legend.
And remember, got to join the Patreon. Keep breaking late.
That's so niche.